back. This is take 2 of our week 4 live. Apologies to anyone who was watching before and it cut out in the middle. We're having a few problems this end, not sure what's going on, but you can tell that we're still relatively new to this, so please still bear with us and hopefully you'll enjoy this chat as well. So my lovely husband has agreed to chat with me again this week. We actually thought we'd talk about positive screen time. So this was actually Jonathan's suggestion, and mainly comes from the fact that over the years we've realised what a good visual and practical tool online learning can be, and that's really due to our children being visual and practical learners. When we started our home education journey, we actually didn't really use online tools a lot at all. We were still finding our feet, whereas now we're very confident with using them and have a really good sort of resource pack of those in our back pocket.
Yeah, and the reason for the topic, the positive screen time, is because many parents will be worried about screen time at the moment and whether they do or don't allow their children to use the iPads and laptops and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely.
So we're, like Jules was saying, we're using learning apps and programs like documentaries as really effective learning tools because they cover so many subjects. And as you'll probably be aware, natural history is a huge topic in our house. We watch a lot of David Attenborough and anything to do with natural history and science, basically. Very popular.
Yeah, definitely. So just in terms of resources, while we're kind of on that topic, BBC iPlayer has some really good documentaries, so that's always worth a look, as well as Netflix and also Amazon Prime. BBC Bitesize is great as a resource for documentaries, but also for short, literally bite-size, videos on things like grammar and English. If you've got a child who's learning to read or needs a bit more support with their reading as well, that's definitely a really good tool. I'll do a post on that as well because I think they're doing some extra stuff at the moment with everyone being at home and learning from home in the current situation. You can even search for things like horrible histories on YouTube to watch them, and Horrible Histories is really popular in our house. The other day we said, why don't we watch a movie as a family, and the vote was actually for Horrible Histories, funnily enough, rather than any other movie. So that was quite good. So it was educational and it ticked off the family movie time, so a bit of a winner. We're also working our way through a World War II documentary series. And that's really interesting because that came about through another home ed family who we know their child is very, very much into World War II. And because of that interest, it really engaged our children and got them interested in World War II. So obviously it can be quite a heavy-going subject at times, but it's really remarkable how engaged the children are when these details are these documentaries are really quite detailed. So that's been quite an eye-opener, and it's been really nice because that's a clear child-led learning experience. They really want to do that, and we've just supported them with it. So, as I mentioned as well, try not to play too much here, but we don't have a TV.
No, Jules never lets me forget that I dropped our previous TV.
Anyway. In some ways that really works for us because screen time is quite limited. And it's a good way for us to manage the screen time. But there are other times when that can be difficult. I'm sure every parent has these moments when they just think, oh, yes, let them watch a bit of TV. It's good as a bit of downtime. Sometimes the TV will actually distract them a bit from what's going on and help children unwind a bit. But you've come up with a pretty good solution for that, seeing as we're all at home at the moment, a lot more than usual.
Exactly, because we can't get out so much, and they do need a bit of diversion and distraction at times. So we've got one of the computer was downstairs to use effectively as a TV, so that it can be hooked up to the laptop when everyone needs that bit of downtime or some family time watching a movie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well done, mate.
Yeah.
Phew, loves it.
Yeah.
We use online learning, just to jump onto that sort of away from the TV and documentary side of things, most days in our home ed. I've shared some of the apps that we really, really like, things like Mystery Science, OutSchool, Reading Eggs, and of course Math Seeds within Reading Eggs. One thing I haven't shared yet, and I'll probably do a post on it this week, is actually Khan Academy. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, whether some schools use Khan or not. It's actually really good, and one of the best things about it is, of course, that it's free. Well, it's always a winner.
Yeah.
We use it predominantly for maths, but it actually covers quite a broad range of subjects. Maths is covered across, can't say this word, across a wide age range. There we go. I've got the tongue twisters going. But it also covers things like science, history, economics, and computing. Our eldest child and I discovered this the other day, and we sat down and went through the subjects that it covers, and we actually came up with a bit of a plan and an approach as to how we're going to cover these different subjects. And for me, that was really interesting because it gave me another good check, a bit of a guide around where their interests are at the moment, what they like, what they really want to focus on. And we've come up with a bit of a plan, and in a way I guess it was a bit of a reward system, that we're going to finish one particular area before we then move on to another, and we'll jump around a little bit, so keep the topics interesting and different, mix it up a bit. But it was a really nice way to do that together. So the apps do give us some structure on how we cover some of the core subjects, but I think that example really shows that it also gives the children some independence over their learning, and I think that's really important, and that's a point I think we might come back to actually, but that's a really key thing for us.
And the kids, of course, love the visual aspect of the apps because they often include learning games and rewards and tokens, etc. And the tokens can be used to buy things within the app, which has the added benefit then of teaching them about finance and money, which of course is very important to do.
And good from an early age too.
Yeah, definitely. And the instant rewards really appeal to the children, and the excitement at gaining a level or points is fantastic to see. And of course we're happy they're enjoying their learning and just enjoying themselves. And the instant feedback is important because it helps the children to understand what they're learning, and as parents we really see where they're progressing, and of course where they might be struggling, so that we can support them when they need it.
Even more important, and that's a good point, because I've actually had parents saying to me at the moment that they hadn't quite appreciated where their children were with certain subjects. And now that the children are at home, it's actually a great opportunity to see where their strengths and weaknesses are and really work on those together. And I guess that's something I'd kind of forgot. We're quite lucky in that I know where my children are, I know where their strengths and their weaknesses are, and for me that's something I can constantly check on because I'm working with them all the time. So we're really lucky with that. So this is a good opportunity in that way too, to address some of those. The other thing is too that some of these apps actually explain some of the concepts better than I can, or we can, to be fair. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off me, because obviously I'm doing most of the home ed, and it helps with you as well.
Yeah, it does. I mean, especially with things like maths, where as a parent we've forgotten some of the building blocks that the children are taught to get them to the more advanced concepts and methods of doing things. A recent example at home here was that with positive and negative numbers, the rules around how they're used and using number lines to get that concept across. I vaguely recall using them as a child, but it wouldn't have even occurred to me to actually use that now, because those rules are ingrained. I don't have to think about how to add positive and negative numbers, but they need to understand those building blocks before they're ready to get to that point. It's really helpful for them, and of course doing it so visually is a huge benefit to them as well.
That's true. It's going back to basics, or sort of taking a few steps back and explaining it thoroughly.
Yeah,
Which is really good. The thing I like as well about the online learning is that it gives us parents a bit of freedom as well. I mentioned this last week, especially for single parents, or where people are self-isolating within your home, and there might only be one parent who's on the ground with the kids at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that freedom of time can help with keeping things running at home, or spending one-on-one time with your different children. So that's really good. And we touched on the independence point earlier, and another thing I really like about the online learning is that it's geared towards the individual child. And for me, that's really important. Sorry, that's our dog. She's just come in to have a cuddle while we're doing this. Yes. But the individual aspect of learning is really a key part of why we chose to home educate.
Yeah.
Because each child is different. They progress at their own pace, and I really want to make sure that my children's needs, or their individual needs, are being met. So the online learning is really good for that, because it can be geared towards them individually. When you've got more than one child, that helps with that, with different interests, but also really it helps with their different ages and their different developmental levels. And when you're trying to pitch at two very different developmental levels, things like this are really handy. Obviously there's some times when they can do general things together, or they can play together, but you do also need that time where you can really cater for them.
Yeah. And the other point is that the online learning reinforces that the electronics, the tablets and laptops, etc., are not just for games. They will see their parents working on laptops, for example, but may have no concept of what they're actually doing.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're building a bridge towards that idea that they are not just an entertainment tool, and the kids absolutely need to be familiar with technology. Some parents will be very anti, but everyone has their own opinions and is different. But our view is that the technology definitely has a time and a place, and it's important that they are familiar with it and comfortable around it.
And I guess as well, what we overlook, you made the point about in this day and age, and that's absolutely right. We're also teaching them a life skill, because they're becoming familiar with the technology, and I think everyone's doing it these days, so there is an element of keeping up with the Joneses, as the saying goes. But
it's more than that, though, isn't it? Because if the sorts of things that were available to us as children,
that's true,
were so primitive by comparison, and I'm sure that what they're using now will feel primitive in 10 or 20 years' time. But they need to be on that journey, and the sooner they are comfortable with what's around them, the better.
Yeah, definitely. I even said earlier that at the beginning of our home education journey, I didn't use any online apps. I used documentaries because that's just part of the children's interests, but it's only as I've progressed, found my feet with all of this, and that we've started to use them. So there you go.
Yeah, that's the opportunity here to share some of that knowledge and
experience.
Yeah,
Definitely. I guess really just to sort of end things and sum up, wrap it up. I guess like everything, using the screen time, the online learning, and the apps, it's all about balance. We still very much encourage our children to play ahead of any screen time. And I've talked about this probably like a broken record for, the 4 weeks that we've been doing this now. And and also, you know, one-on-one when I've been talking to parents and friends and stuff, you know, to us play is such an important part of their development. But I guess what we're trying to say this evening is that screen time and online learning is still a benefit, and it can be a very positive part of their learning experience, and for us we think it is.
Yeah.
And we balance the two.
I agree.
Thank you. Good. Excellent. Lucky about that. But
Yeah.
anyway. So I hope that's been helpful. It's a bit of a shorter one this week. Apologies for the
Stuff up.
yeah. I was
Well,
going to say technological mishap.
Yeah.
But anyway, hopefully this one will go out and there'll be no problems. Keep your questions coming, your comments, your thoughts, any concerns, worries. Oh, there's our cat in the
So time's
background.
up.
She's joining as well, telling us to get on with it. And you hopefully have seen that during the week I posted the first of our series of chats with different people about home education, learning at home, other interesting topics, and also, you know, different activities to do with the children as well. So I'll keep posting those. I've got a couple of actually really exciting ones too lined up for this week. So, and the regular tips as well will keep coming. So I think that's really all from us for now. Hope that was helpful. Thank you all for watching, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Bye bye
Bye.
everyone. Bye bye.
Let's hope this works.